to engage government, civil society and business leaders to finding solutions to business challenges in the country. 2016 marks 40 years of the BMF's existence. The organization has been reflecting and celebrating this milestone under the theme 40 years of changing the transformation landscape. Now, some of the discussion points at the morning discussion included the upcoming conference sub-themes. They include, among other themes, ownership as an engine of transformation, significance of black management control, and the eradication of policies derailing change. Mncane Mthunzi is the president of the Black Management Forum, and he joins us now live in studio. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening.
Now, I want to look at this theme that is the ownership as an engine of transformation. For me, when I was looking at what was discussed today, that really came across to me. Yeah. Take me through that.
Yeah, so the bigger theme of the conference actually is making transformation a business imperative. We feel like corporate South Africa and South Africa in general have not been doing enough to make sure that transformation continues to be on the radar screen. And the sub-theme of, there are 4 sub-themes, but amongst others is this one of ownership. The problem is that we have forgotten that ownership is at the core of transformation. When without owning, there's not much that you can be able to do. When you own, you can influence, change, control, including in choosing who gets to run the place, who gets to be the executive, who gets to be the manager, where the resources gets to be directed. So we want to put ownership at the core of transformation.
Let's look at the broad topic that is transformation. You've been here before and we had this conversation, and you are having your annual conference next week. What needs to be done to ensure that this happens? Because we have conferences, we have summits where conversations take place, and goals are written down, and we say in the next year or in the next 5 years this is what we want to achieve. But are we getting there, or are we just in a position where we're still stuck in talk shops?
Yeah, I think the reason why we came up with the theme, especially this sub-theme, is because we feel like we have lost ground. And we have not been paying attention to these type of issues. That's why we need to go back and put these issues on the table, and we re-energizing ourselves so that we do not tire as far as the issues of transformation is concerned. We're not happy about the progress that has. In fact, we think that transformation is in reverse gear. We have gone backwards. That's why we need to go back in terms of trying to prioritize and focus on things that really needs to be done. Because when you look at the ownership itself, hovering around 3% at JSE level for black ownership. But even if you look at the local assets, because some of the companies that are listed in JSE are foreign based, or they don't have operations or assets in South Africa. If you look at that, it takes you to about 8%. So we're still on single digit as far as the black ownership is concerned. That's why, in our view, that we think that we need to focus on this matter seriously.
Now, speaking of focus, you've just mentioned that you feel like, when it comes to transformation, we've somehow regressed, you've lost a lot of ground.
Yeah.
What are some of the reasons behind why we lost ground, for example?
I think it's a combination of factors. One, it's do we have the bureaucrats that are focused correctly on things that really needs to be done? Our policies talking about the country that we have, not the one that we wish we had. So sometimes that there's a misalignment in terms of policies that we have. And if we raise these issues, the issue of triple PFA, for example, we've been raising this matter for time immemorial, and nothing much has been happening. But we are encouraged that the president last night pronounced that the government is going to repeal or make a difference, change as far as the policy is concerned. So we are waiting in patience in terms of what's going to come out. I have no idea why it should take us about 20 years to make changes to policies that are not making progress. That's why we're looking at as one of the sub-themes around the policies that are derailing change. Basically, they're holding us back as a society.
Now, let's look at your annual conference. I mean, this conference aims to engage government, civil society, and business leaders. How important are private-public partnerships in reaching the goal of transformation overall?
So they're extremely important. We think that the partnership must be throughout, it must be consistent. Government must not meet business because there's a rating agencies that is coming with a sharp knife, and we must be seen to be united. Yeah. We need to be consistent, we need to meet at the very least every quarter and raise these robust issues. Even if nothing much is happening, but at least we understand what is in the headspace of government, business, labor, and the whole social community. So I think that's what we really need to do, and I think Network needs to be resuscitated and given some teeth in terms of making the impact. It used to be a powerful platform in terms of these collaborations of ideas, but nothing much has been happening. So I think that's why I'm saying that we've lost ground. We need to reprioritize and focus on things that really matters, because we went backwards. And if we are to have a society that is progressive, and we take people out of poverty, we grow, we focus on economic growth, and the economy grows at about 5% plus. These are the things that we need to do. Otherwise, this piecemeal approach, and we seem to be interacting because there's an emergency and things that are forcing us to interact, is not sustainable, it's not correct, it's not what we should be doing. So therefore, the BMF conference next week is going to deal with these type of issues. And BMF conferences basically are not talk shops. What we do is to have the offline discussions more than anything around. So that's why people may not be aware. But if you don't know that, for example, the Black Economic Empowerment Act came as a result of the BMF conference, and there was a resolution that there must be a commission on BEE and come up with these policies in terms of how it should be structured, what needs to happen around it, and that has evolved into the act that we have to do. I can quote the same thing as far as the employment equity is concerned. We've been strong partner with government on these policies to make sure that the country moves forward.
I'm actually glad you mentioned that, you have a lot of offline conversations that maybe general society doesn't know about. And the BMF is marking 40 years of its existence. That's a big deal. Beyond, the serious talk of policies and transformation, but we are also celebrating the good work that the BMF has done. As the president of the BMF, how do you visualize the next 40 years, for example, or maybe shorter, let's say the next 5 years, in terms of transformation, but also the work of the BMF going forward, and maybe ensuring that people do know what the BMF does and what it's all about? So
let me start by paying homage to everyone who has started and led the BMF. We are successful today because we are standing on the shoulders of the giant. All we do is to improve on the work that they have done, and we're making our small contribution with the hope that the next generation will be able to take the baton from us and make that contribution. I'm grateful about the contribution that all the BMF leaders basically have done. It's a proud organization. It has managed to shape the country in terms of influencing the policies and the direction that we have managed to do. So we're primarily about two things as an organization. We're about socio-economic transformation. That's why we're looking at all these issues and policies and where are we as far as the political economy is concerned of the country. And the second aspect or pillar of the BMF is the development of managerial leadership. We're looking at making sure we have a competent, quality leadership as far as managers are concerned. And in our view as BMF, good managers, they graduate to become good leaders. And if we can do that, then we can be able to deal with the complexity of the economy that we have and make sure that we can be able to propel it to greater heights. We are disappointed, though, that when you look at transformation in general, especially at the highest echelons, is that we are in reverse gear. We have gone backwards, and we need to arrest that and make sure we propel it to greater heights. And we need black managers and managers in general, but specifically black managers, to focus on tougher roles. We need to be focusing on strategy, finance, operations role. We need to roll up our sleeves and do the hard things, because those tough roles are the ones that will qualify us to lead companies and to be able to manage our economy.
Now, I guess a good way to wrap up would be to look at, entrepreneurship, for example. I mean, government speaks highly of it. Economists will tell you, that the only way we can really grow our economy is to focus on entrepreneurship. How do we formalize entrepreneurship, especially in the black community specifically? We have a lot of general things that the black community is used to doing. So it's a tuck shop or a small little store that they have. But how do we get it to a point where it's professionalized, where it can grow and become a listed company, for example?
So I think there are two things that sometimes we miss as far as the entrepreneurship is concerned. Irrespective of the ideas that you have, you need to be good in management. You need to be able to manage things. So therefore, if you can pick up some experience of managing things, actually work somewhere before you could venture into starting your own company. If you want to start your company, it's fun, but be associated with organization or structures where you will be able to pick up some learnings around. And the second most important thing, which entrepreneurs basically they hate, it's actually structure. If you have structure, you have policies, you have governance, to know that even if it's your business, you cannot overpay yourself, irrespective how much money you have made. For example, I think for a business that generates about 10 million per annum, the owner must be able at least to pay themselves about 600,000, nothing more than that. But if you cannot know how to not pay yourself, overpay yourself, and you don't have a clarity around issues of turnover and a profit and understanding that you need to reinvest into your business, you're not going to grow. So those principles that people get as far as running corporate or running organizations are concerned are important, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you work in a corporate.
You certainly made an excellent point there with saying that those principles are necessary regardless of what kind of business you're in, that you need to have a certain structure in order to succeed in business. Thank you so much for joining us. Unfortunately, we've run out of time.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations
thank you for having
your 40 years.
Yeah, we're excited. By the way, the dinner of the BMF is on Friday next week. It will be addressed by Advocate Thuli Madonsela.
Oh.
Basically, it will be probably the last event of as a public protector, and we are looking forward to the wisdom that she'll be sharing with us.
We're excited for you. Thank you so much for joining us on Your World. That was Mncane Mthunzi, and he's the president of the Black Management Forum, talking to us about South Africa's economy, but most importantly, the BMF's 40 years of existence.